Hey everyone, welcome back. Sarah, before we start, I have to admit something.
That sounds serious already.
Not serious, just honest. When you said today's word is migration, my first thought was birds, like birds flying south.
Ha ha ha. You're not wrong. That's actually a very common association.
It is, but it's also very human. And that's exactly why today's word is migration.
Okay, so let's start simple. What does migration mean in English?
At its core, migration means moving from one place to another, usually for a long period of time or permanently. But it's not just about changing locations, it's about changing life conditions. We use the word for people who leave their hometowns or countries, often searching for safety, education, work, or freedom. We use it for animals like birds that migrate to survive different seasons. Sometimes we even use it metaphorically to describe how ideas, cultures, or trends move and spread over time. What makes migration interesting is that it's never only physical. When someone migrates, they don't just carry a suitcase, they carry language, memories, habits, fears, hopes, and unanswered questions. So while migration looks like movement on a map, in real life it's a deep personal transition between who you were, who you are becoming, and where you belong next.
So it's not just traveling.
Exactly. Travel is temporary. Migration is about changing where life happens.
Like changing your home, your routine, your future. But also changing the small, invisible thing, the way you wake up in the morning, the sounds you hear outside your window, the food you crave when you're tired, the language you think in when you're emotional. Migration disrupts what feels familiar. Suddenly, simple things require effort. Making friends, understanding jokes, feeling confident in public spaces. Even silence feels different in a new place. And with time, your idea of future starts to shift. Plans become more uncertain, but also more open. You begin to imagine possibilities that never existed before, while still missing the life you left behind. So migration isn't just about moving forward. It's about learning how to live between past and future, memory and hope, loss and growth.
Yes, migration often means starting again, socially, emotionally, and practically.
I think one reason this word feels confusing is that it sounds like one big concept.
That's a great observation. Migration is not one story. There are many types of migration, and each comes with a very different emotional and practical reality. Some people migrate by choice for education, work, love, or personal growth. This kind of migration often carries excitement and ambition, even though it still involves uncertainty and sacrifice. Others migrate out of necessity because of war, political pressure, economic collapse, climate change, or lack of safety. In these cases, migration is not about opportunity, it's about survival. The decision is rushed, painful, and often filled with fear. There is also temporary migration students, seasonal workers, professionals on short-term contract, people who live in a constant state of not fully settled. Home becomes a flexible idea rather than a fixed place. Then there is internal migration, when people move within their own country, from rural areas to cities, or from one region to another. Even without crossing borders, the sense of displacement can be just as real. What connects all these stories is this: migration always asks people to adapt. Different reasons, different paths, but the same deep human experience of leaving something known and stepping into the unknown.
Such as?
People migrate for education, work, safety, family, opportunity, or survival, and sometimes for several of these reasons at once. Rarely is migration driven by only one clear factor. Life circumstances overlap, and decisions are often layered and complex. Some people choose to migrate. They plan it carefully, apply for visas, save money, and imagine a better future. For them, migration can feel like progress, a step forward, a chance to grow, learn, and build something new. Others are forced to migrate. There is no long planning, no sense of readiness. Conflict, persecution, poverty, or sudden danger pushes them to leave. In these cases, migration is not a dream. It's an urgent response to an impossible situation. And between choice and force, there is a large gray area. Many people technically choose to migrate, but their choices are shaped by limited options. Staying may mean no education, no safety, or no future at all.
That difference matters because it changes how we understand people's experiences. When migration is a choice, it often comes with preparation, support, and a sense of control. When migration is forced, it usually comes with loss of home, stability, identity, and sometimes family. The emotional weight is completely different. Treating all migration as the same erases these realities. It ignores trauma, courage, and resilience. It also shapes how societies respond with empathy and support, or with judgment and suspicion. Recognizing the difference helps us speak about migration more honestly and more humanely. It reminds us that migration is not just movement on a map, but a deeply personal turning point in someone's life.
A lot. Voluntary migration and forced migration carry very different emotional experiences.
When people migrate, what changes first?
Usually, identity is the first thing that feels unstable. When someone migrates, they don't just cross borders, they cross social categories. Suddenly, the familiar labels that once defined them no longer work. At home, they were simply themselves, a student, a professional, a neighbor, a daughter, or a son. In a new place, those identities are often replaced with one word: newcomer or foreign. This shift can be deeply unsettling. You may speak differently, dress differently, think differently. Things that were once invisible become noticeable. You become more aware of your accent, your name, your habits, even your silence. Identity turns into something you have to explain or defend. Over time, many migrants learn to carry multiple identities at once. They become bridges between cultures, languages, and ways of life. But that process takes time, emotional energy, and patience. Understanding this helps us see migration not as a weakness, but as a complex act of adaptation and strength.
It can be. Simple things become difficult. Language, paperwork, cultural rules, even humor. You might know who you are, but the world around you doesn't yet.
So, migration isn't just moving your body, it's moving your whole life.
This feels very relevant for English learners.
It is. Language is one of the first barriers migrants face. Even confident speakers may suddenly feel small or invisible.
Yes, and that affects confidence, relationships, and opportunities.
So, learning English deeply is not just academic, it's survival for some people.
Very true.
Can I ask something personal?
Of course.
Do you think migration changes people permanently?
Even when migration improves life, it leaves a mark. A quiet, lasting one that doesn't always show on the surface. You may find safety, opportunity, or freedom in a new place, but the experience reshapes how you see yourself and the world. There is often a sense of permanent awareness. You notice accents, rules, habits, and differences more deeply than others do. You learn to read rooms carefully, to adjust, to translate yourself, sometimes literally, sometimes emotionally. Migration can also create a double emotion. Gratitude and sadness exist at the same time. You might feel thankful for what you have gained, while still mourning what you lost. Celebrations can feel incomplete. Achievements can feel lonely without familiar faces to share them with. Even success can carry a quiet ache. Over time, this mark becomes part of identity. Many migrants develop strength, adaptability, and empathy precisely because of this experience. They learn how to start again, how to belong in unfamiliar spaces, and how to carry multiple worlds inside them at once. So yes, migration can improve life, but it also changes it forever. And understanding that complexity helps us talk about migration with more honesty, respect, and humanity.
That's something we don't hear often.
Because migration stories are usually simplified, success or failure. Reality is more complex.
In the news, migration sounds very cold.
That's because academic and journalistic English focuses on data, not emotions.
Like numbers and policies.
Exactly. You might hear sentences like, migration patterns have shifted due to economic instability. Governments face challenges managing migration flows.
Those sentences don't show the human side.
But they're important to understand if you want advanced English.
Are there common mistakes with this word?
That would sound very strange.
Another mistake is assuming migration is always negative or always positive. In English, it's a neutral word. The meaning comes from context.
Earlier you mentioned identity. Does migration affect belonging? Almost always. Migrants often feel between places, not fully here, not fully there.
That sounds lonely.
It can be, but it can also create strength, perspective, and empathy.
I started this episode thinking about birds.
And now?
Now I see migration as a human story, layered, emotional, and complex.
That's the power of understanding words deeply.
Thanks for spending this time with us.
Take these ideas with you, into your English, and into how you see people.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Until then, take care.